Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated economist here. Have you ever seen anybody try and deal with a problem by avoiding it, or pretending that it's not a problem at all, or saying that it's actually a good thing that's taken place? I was reading an article coming out of Forbes talking about student loans, and the student loan default rate is dropping. Okay, and when you first hear this, it would lead you to believe that this is a good thing, that the kids are paying back their debts. But if you read this article, that's not what's taking place. Schools are eligible for particular programs like the direct loan program and something called the Pell Grant. And if these schools have a default of 40% in the first year or 30% over 3 years, they lose the eligibility for these programs. So what the schools are doing now is they're hiring consultants to come in and get these students to skirt around the CDR, which is the cohort default rate, by getting them to defer their payment out to a later date, asking for forbearance. And with the students asking for forbearance and deferring their payments off to a later date, they're no longer considered a defaulting loan, and they're not counted in that metric. So it's not like they're dealing with the problem. It's not like the students are actually paying back their loan, causing the default rate to drop. That's not what's taking place. They're just pushing it off into a later date. They're kicking the can down the road for a little while. And the only reason why they're doing it is so that these schools are doing it is so that they can stay eligible for those particular programs. This is one of the reasons why you can't just trust the data. You have to go and look for the things yourself. You have to go and research everything that you hear. Because had you just heard that student loan default is dropping and you didn't hear anything else about it, you didn't read the article, you didn't, research it at all, it would lead you to believe that things are getting better. But they're not. They're not getting better. It's getting worse. And this is the way they're dealing with it, is by getting them to push it off until later in life, instead of dealing with the problem now. The best way to deal with your debts is to tackle them today. Not in 3 years, not next year, today. Start paying on your debts today. But that's not what they're encouraging these kids to do. They're encouraging them to push it out there to a later date. That way the schools can stay eligible for their programs. Regardless of what you do with your life after that, if you default or not, they don't care. See, they do it with your best interest in mind. Oh, hey, you just graduated. You don't really have a whole lot of money right now. It's going to be tough to get things going. Why don't you defer your payments off into a later date? That way you'll have a better shot at getting things going, when you first graduate. Instead of dealing with your problems today, they're encouraging you to deal with them farther out into the future. Anyway. Found that to be quite interesting. Uneducated economist. You guys let me know.